Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a world that's both fascinating and a little bit creepy, maybe. The world of secret societies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be looking at excerpts from a book called aptly Secret Societies. And we're really going to try to go deeper here, figure out why secrecy is so powerful
Mhm.
and how these groups, these hidden groups, have actually shaped history for good or for bad.
Well, what I find so interesting about secret societies is how they kind of blur the line
Yeah.
between fact and fiction, right? Like on the one hand, they tap into our deepest fears about the unknown, but then on the other hand, they spark our imaginations with these ideas of hidden knowledge and power.
Yeah, totally. And I think, when most people think of secret societies, you think of these shadowy figures like pulling the strings from the darkness. But it's interesting because even early Christians, who are now like the dominant religion, they were once considered a secret and even subversive group.
Yeah, it's almost ironic, isn't it? This group that's all about openness and transparency had to operate in the shadows for a time. And they face these accusations that seem ridiculous
Oh,
today.
yeah.
Like the Romans, they were so suspicious of anything hidden, they actually accused early Christians of being cannibals because of communion.
Wow.
And their love feasts, which were just meals shared together,
Right.
somehow got twisted into rumors of orgies.
You can just imagine what their Roman neighbors must have thought, like side-eyeing them at the market.
Exactly.
And the cross, which is now such a powerful symbol. Back then, it was a symbol of torture and execution. Talk about a PR nightmare.
Oh, for sure.
But it really shows how secrecy can breed suspicion and distort the truth, leading to fear and misinformation.
Exactly. And that fear, which is often based on misunderstanding or even deliberate manipulation, it can be used as a tool for control, Like,
Wow.
just look at the assassins. Even their name evokes fear. They were masters of using fear and secrecy to their advantage. Led by Hassan Saba, they created this stronghold at Alamut. But it wasn't just a fortress, it was a stage for psychological warfare.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting.
Right. So Hassan was this brilliant but ruthless strategist.
Right.
He understood the power of reward and punishment. So at Alamut, he creates this like earthly paradise, gardens, beautiful women, you name it, all these pleasures.
Oh, wow.
And then he would use hashish to give his recruits a taste of this paradise, convincing them this was their reward for loyalty.
That's pretty clever.
It was, although morally questionable, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it created this powerful psychological dependence,
Right.
connecting the euphoria of the drug to the promise of paradise and the fear of losing it.
Wow.
So these assassins weren't just motivated by faith, they were conditioned to obey.
Right.
And that made them incredibly effective.
Wow, that's scary.
Like the scholar Imam Razi, just for criticizing them, he ended up on their hit list.
You really didn't want to be on Hassan Saba's bad side. But their story makes you think. What makes a group like the Assassins so terrifying? Is it their methods, their secrecy, or the fact that they're willing to kill for their beliefs?
It's probably a combination of all of those things, but I think a big part of it was the psychological control that Hassan had.
Right.
He created a closed system where obedience was rewarded and dissent was punished.
Wow, yeah.
This absolute control over his followers made them both loyal and terrifying.
It's a chilling reminder that secrecy plus manipulation equals a very potent and dangerous force. So let's switch gears a bit and look at a group whose story is a cautionary tale about the seductive nature of power and how good intentions can turn bad. The Knights Templar.
Ah, the Templars, yes. Their story is like a classic example of how power and wealth can corrupt even the most righteous cause. They started as these valiant protectors of pilgrims, traveling to the Holy Land during the Crusades,
Okay.
and their bravery in battle and their faith made them heroes, and their success led to a lot of wealth and influence.
But that's where things start to go wrong, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
The Templars, who were originally sworn to poverty and self-sacrifice, they started living these lavish lifestyles. There's even an account in the book about them selling a miraculous liquid from a statue of the Virgin Mary. Forgiveness of sins for a price.
Right, quite a markup.
Yeah, and their reputation for excessive drinking kind of shows how their priorities had
Yeah,
shifted.
sure. But their downfall was less about their morals and more about the politics of the time.
Right.
King Philip V of France, he was jealous of their wealth and power. So he accused them of heresy,
Oh, wow.
had them arrested, tortured, and their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was executed.
That's a brutal end for a group that was once a symbol of faith and chivalry. It makes you wonder, was their corruption inevitable given their circumstances? Or could they have resisted the temptations of power and stayed true to their ideals?
It's a question historians have debated for centuries. But their story is a warning about the dangers of unchecked power and the need for accountability, even for groups with noble goals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to a group that's shrouded in mystery and has fascinated people for centuries. The Freemasons.
The Freemasons. They've captured the imagination like no other secret society. But what's interesting is they didn't start as this powerful group. They started as humble craft guilds in 17th century England.
Really?
Yeah, they focused on protecting trade secrets and building brotherhood among skilled craftsmen.
Wow.
And while they did evolve into a more fraternal organization, attracting some very prominent figures, that sense of brotherhood and their code of conduct, that remained at their core.
Interesting.
But their rituals, their symbols, their hierarchy, all of that added to their mystique and fueled all sorts of speculation about their influence.
And that's where it gets juicy, right? The alleged connections to the Knights Templar and the Illuminati, which are debated, of course.
Yeah.
Just add to the intrigue. And then there's that whole thing about the U.S. dollar bill and supposed Masonic symbols on it.
Oh, yeah, that's a popular one.
Coincidence?
Yeah.
Or evidence of their hidden hand in America's founding?
Well, it's a question that has fascinated a lot of people. But even without those more sensational claims, there's no doubt that Freemasons have had an impact on history, especially in America.
Right.
Some historians argue that many of the founding fathers, like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, were Freemasons, and that their ideals of liberty and equality might have been influenced by Masonic principles.
That's a fascinating thought, that this secret group played a role in shaping American democracy.
It is.
But it also shows how hard it is to separate fact from fiction. When it comes to secret societies,
Absolutely.
their very nature invites speculation
Right?
and encourages all these elaborate narratives. It's hard to know where history ends and myth begins.
Exactly, and that's part of their appeal, I think. They offer a glimpse into a world beyond the ordinary, a world of hidden meanings, secret rituals, and the possibility of influencing history from the shadows.
Okay, speaking of history shrouded in myth and intrigue, let's talk about the Priory of Sion. This group claims to protect the bloodline of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene.
Yes, the Priory of Sion. Now, this is where we really enter the realm of maybe historical fiction or even fabrication. Their story, while it is compelling, it's mostly based on fake documents and unsubstantiated claims.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the idea that they have these secret dossier with the names of Christ's descendants, including figures like Leonardo da Vinci, it's fueled a lot of speculation and conspiracy theories.
Right.
But the evidence, when you look closely, it just doesn't hold up.
Wow.
It's full of historical inaccuracies and forgeries.
But the story gets even crazier, right? There's this priest, Béranger Saunière.
Yeah.
He supposedly found the priory's secrets and made a fortune, which adds to the mystery.
Right. That story definitely added fuel to the fire.
And then there's Pierre Plantard. He claimed to be a descendant of Christ himself and went to great lengths to create fake evidence.
Talk about commitment to a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it's like something out of a movie.
It is. But Plantard's efforts, they were eventually exposed as a hoax.
Right.
But they show how powerful these secret society stories can be. They inspire belief and attract people who are willing to go to extremes.
Keep the myth alive.
Exactly.
It's like a real-life treasure hunt. People chasing clues, convinced they're about to uncover some monumental truth.
I know, it's fascinating.
But the Priory of Sion also shows how important it is to think critically
Absolutely.
and separate fact from fiction.
It's a good reminder that not everything hidden is valuable.
True?
And sometimes the most intriguing stories are just elaborate deceptions.
Okay, so let's turn our attention to a group that has captivated scholars and occultists for centuries. The Rosicrucians.
The Rosicrucians, yes. They emerged in the 17th century shrouded in mystery, claiming to have this ancient wisdom and a deep understanding of the occult.
Oh, yeah.
Their story begins with these anonymously published manifestos
Right.
detailing the travels of their legendary founder, Christian Rosenkreuz,
Right.
and his discovery of secret knowledge in the East.
Wow.
These writings sparked a lot of interest and speculation. But there's a twist. A Lutheran pastor named Johann Valentin Andrea later confessed to writing those manifestos. As a prank?
A prank.
A prank.
Wow, that's unexpected.
Yeah, but some people believe that confession was itself a hoax.
Wait, so it's a hoax within a hoax?
It's pretty convoluted, yeah.
So did Andre really intend it as a prank?
Oh,
Or did he have other motives? And if it was a prank, why did it resonate with so many people?
well, regardless of their origin, the Rosicrucian manifestos tapped into a depth desire for hidden knowledge and spiritual enlightenment.
Hmm.
They offered a path to self-discovery and the promise of unlocking the secrets of the universe.
Right.
It appealed to intellectuals, mystics, anyone seeking a deeper understanding.
And despite the controversy about their origins,
Hmm.
the Rosicrucians did have a real impact on intellectual and spiritual thought.
Oh, absolutely.
They influenced figures like Francis Bacon and inspired various esoteric groups that still exist today.
Right.
Their story is a good example of how a powerful idea,
Mm.
even one that starts as a joke, can have a lasting impact on beliefs and movements.
It can change the world.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's look at a spiritual movement that, like early Christianity, often clashed with mainstream religion, Gnosticism.
Ah, Gnosticism, yes. With its focus on knowledge as the key to salvation, it challenged the religious dogma of the time.
How so?
Well, they believed that the material world was flawed, created by a lesser god, and that true freedom came from transcending this material realm to connect with the divine spark within.
Interesting.
But this belief put them in direct conflict with early Christians
Right.
who saw their teachings as heresy.
It's fascinating how this conflict played out, with Gnostic texts being suppressed or destroyed by those in power.
It was a struggle for survival, for sure.
So what were their beliefs like?
Well, the Gnostics were a diverse group
Okay.
with various sects and practices. For example, the Alphites. They revered the serpent as a symbol of wisdom,
Interesting.
while the Carpocratians embraced radical freedom, challenging societal norms.
They were definitely pushing boundaries.
They were.
And despite facing persecution, their ideas continued to spread, resurfacing in different mystical traditions throughout history.
That's right, they had a lasting influence.
It shows how strong the desire for a unique spiritual path can be, even if it means risking persecution.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to the mystical realm of Kabbalah, a Jewish tradition that seeks to uncover the hidden meanings in the Torah.
Kabbalah is all about deciphering the deeper layers of meaning in Jewish scripture. It reveals this complex system of symbolism and esoteric knowledge.
So it's not just about the literal words on the page.
No, it's about finding the hidden meanings. They believe the Torah is a blueprint for understanding the universe and our place in it.
That's pretty profound.
One of their key concepts is the Sephiroth, which is often visualized as the tree of life.
I've heard of that.
It represents divine attributes and the process of creation. It's a guide for spiritual ascension.
A roadmap to connect with the divine.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about the Zohar? It's a key text in Kabbalah, right?
Yes, the Zohar is central to their tradition. Its origins are shrouded in mystery. Some believe it was divinely inspired, revealed through visions and mystical experiences.
Wow.
Kabbalah's influence extends beyond Jewish mysticism, though.
Really?
Yeah, it's inspired artists, philosophers, even scientists.
Wow.
It offers a framework for understanding the interconnectedness of everything and the search for hidden meaning.
So it's about finding the deeper truths behind the surface reality.
That's a good way to put it.
It's about connecting to something greater than ourselves. Okay, let's switch gears again and delve into a world where secrecy and violence intertwine. The world of triads.
Triads, with their roots in 17th century China. They're a fascinating example of how secret societies can evolve and adapt to changing times. Initially, they were seen as patriots, resisting the Manchu invasion, fighting for their homeland.
Wow, so they were like freedom fighters.
In a way, yes.
But they evolved into something else, right?
Over time, their focus shifted.
Oh.
They became more involved in organized crime,
Oh, why?
establishing a network of influence in Chinese communities. Especially in Hong Kong and overseas, they have these elaborate rituals and blood oaths
Right.
and a complex hierarchy that adds to their mystique.
It sounds like something out of a movie.
It does, but they're very real. And understanding them requires a nuanced perspective.
How so?
They're not just gangs, they're deeply rooted in Chinese culture, drawing on values of loyalty, brotherhood, and respect for hierarchy.
It sounds like a complicated mix of tradition and crime.
It-
Their story raises some interesting questions about the relationship between culture and criminal activity
It does.
and how those lines can become blurred.
Exactly.
Okay, fasten your seatbelts, everyone, because we're about to enter the dark and dangerous world of the Mafia in Cosa Nostra.
Ah, the Mafia. Born from centuries of oppression in Sicily, they transformed from a system of self-protection into this highly organized criminal syndicate.
Wow.
with a reach that extends far beyond Sicily. They've infiltrated societies on both sides of the Atlantic.
And their code of silence, omerta, is legendary, right?
It is. It enforces loyalty through fear and intimidation.
Breaking the code has serious consequences.
Very serious.
It ensures their secrecy.
And protects them from outside scrutiny.
Right, so tell me more about their structure.
Okay, so the mafia isn't one big group. It's a network of families, each with its own territory, hierarchy, and criminal enterprises.
So like separate branches?
In a way, yes. The most famous branch is Cosa Nostra. They operate with a strict hierarchy. Bosses, capos, soldiers, maintaining control through violence, intimidation, and corruption.
And what kind of criminal activities are they involved in?
A wide range, really. Extortion, racketeering, gambling, drug trafficking, even infiltrating legitimate businesses.
So they're everywhere.
They have their fingers in a lot of pies.
It seems like they're incredibly difficult to stop.
They are resilient and adaptable, despite numerous attempts to dismantle them.
Their story is a reminder of the power of organized crime.
And the challenges of fighting it.
It makes you think about the conditions that allow such groups to thrive.
The vulnerabilities they exploit. The corruption they feed off of.
It's a sobering thought.
It is.
Okay, let's shift our focus to Japan. And look at another powerful criminal organization, the Yakuza.
The Yakuza is fascinating. They have this complex mix of tradition and criminality.
How so?
Well, they have a strict code of honor and elaborate rituals, but they're also heavily involved in illegal activities.
Like what?
Gambling, drugs, prostitution, extortion.
So they're like the Japanese mafia.
There are some similarities, yes.
But they also have a different image, right?
They do.
They're often portrayed as being more stylish, even glamorous.
That's true. They have a certain mystique. They're often seen as protectors of tradition, and they have a strong presence in Japanese society, even participating in festivals and cultural events.
So it's a complicated relationship.
Very complicated.
They're criminals, but they're also part of the fabric of society.
It's a paradox.
Their story makes you think about the different faces of organized crime.
And how it can be intertwined with culture and tradition.
Okay, let's step into a world that's often misunderstood and sometimes demonized. The world of witchcraft and Wicca.
Witchcraft, with its roots in ancient pagan practices, has a long history. It's associated with nature, magic, and the divine feminine.
But it's also been persecuted, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Especially during the burning times.
Countless people, mostly women, were accused of witchcraft and executed.
A dark chapter in history.
Driven by fear, superstition, and the desire for control.
It makes you wonder how such atrocities could happen.
It's a reminder of the dangers of ignorance and intolerance.
So how does Wicca fit into all of this?
Wicca is a modern revival of witchcraft.
Okay.
It emerged in the 20th century, and it emphasizes ethical practices.
So it's different from the witchcraft of the past.
In some ways, yes. Wiccans are guided by the Wiccan Rede. And it harm none, do what you will.
That's an interesting principle.
It means they strive to live in harmony with nature and use magic for personal growth and healing.
And they perform their rituals within a sacred circle, right?
Yes, they call upon the power of the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water.
It sounds very connected to nature.
It is.
Their rituals involve chanting, meditation, and symbolic tools.
It's all about connecting with the cycles of nature and the divine.
So it's a spiritual path that emphasizes harmony and balance.
Exactly.
It's interesting how Wicca reclaims traditions that were once suppressed.
It shows the enduring human need for spiritual connection.
Okay, let's step into the halls of Yale University, where we find one of the most elite and secretive societies in America, Skull and Bones.
Ah, Skull and Bones, shrouded in secrecy and steeped in tradition.
Their initiation rituals are legendary.
They involve confessing secrets, lying in a coffin, symbolizing death and rebirth.
That's intense.
And their clubhouse, the tomb, is this imposing structure, adding to their aura of power and mystery.
But what really fuels the intrigue is their alumni list. Presidents, senators, Supreme Court justices, business titans.
Their influence on American society is undeniable.
It makes you wonder what goes on behind closed doors.
What secrets are shared, what deals are made.
Some argue that their influence is a good thing, that they use their power to make positive changes.
Others see them as a symbol of elitism and privilege.
A group that perpetuates inequality.
It's a debate that's likely to continue.
One of the most controversial allegations involves Prescott Bush, the father of President George H.W. Bush, and his alleged involvement in financing the Nazi regime.
Through the Union Banking Corporation.
Whether it's true or not, It raises disturbing questions about power and influence,
And the potential for corruption.
even within institutions that seem to uphold the highest ideals,
It's a reminder that power can be seductive.
and that secrecy can be a shield for wrongdoing.
Skull and Bones, despite their contributions to society, remain a symbol of the concentration of power and the potential for secrecy to protect those in authority.
From accountability.
It's a reminder that we need to be vigilant.
And hold those in power accountable, no matter their status or affiliations.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's step back in time to the ancient world and explore a group whose history is shrouded in myth and folklore. The Druids.
The Druids hold a special place in our imagination. They were the priestly class in ancient Celtic societies.
So they were spiritual leaders.
Yes, they were teachers, judges, advisors to rulers. They had knowledge of herbal medicine, astronomy, the natural world.
Yeah, they were like the wise men of their time. Their practices were secretive.
Very secretive, passed down orally through generations.
So we don't have a lot of written records about them.
No, which adds to their mystique.
Where did they perform their rituals?
In secret groves, often near oak trees, which they considered sacred.
That's interesting.
Their ceremonies involved offerings, divination, invoking deities. They were deeply connected to nature and the spiritual realm.
But the Romans saw them as a threat, right?
Yes, the Romans sought to suppress their practices and assimilate the Celtic people.
So the Druids were persecuted,
It were gradually marginalized, their traditions driven underground,
but their legacy lived on.
in folklore, literature, and the enduring fascination with their wisdom.
And of course, we can't talk about Druids without mentioning Stonehenge.
That enigmatic prehistoric monument.
It sparked so many theories about its purpose.
Some believe it was a druidic temple, a place for astronomical observation and rituals.
But there's no concrete evidence to support that, right?
No, but the association persists.
It's fueled by our fascination with the ancient world.
And our desire to connect this mysterious monument to a group known for their knowledge and spirituality.
It's a reminder that the past is full of mysteries.
And that we're always trying to piece together the fragments of history.
Okay, let's shift our focus to a more modern group, one that's become a lightning rod for conspiracy theories. The Bilderberg Group.
The Bilderberg Group, the ultimate boogeyman for conspiracy theorists.
Right, they're accused of controlling the world.
From behind closed doors.
Their annual conferences attract some of the most powerful people on the planet.
Heads of state, CEOs, military officials, academics.
The who's who of the global elite.
And their secrecy fuels all sorts of speculation.
About their true agenda.
Critics argue that they're an unelected, unaccountable group, making decisions that impact millions, without any democratic oversight.
They point to the fact that the media is often barred from their meetings.
And that participants are sworn to secrecy.
As evidence of their nefarious intentions.
Right.
But supporters say they're just providing a forum for dialogue.
Among influential figures.
Allowing them to discuss important issues privately.
Without the constraints of public scrutiny.
They argue that confidentiality is necessary for open and honest discussion.
And that the group has no formal decision-making power.
So it's just a place to exchange ideas.
That's what they claim.
Whether you believe they're harmless or a shadowy cabal, their story highlights an important issue.
The concentration of power in the hands of a few.
And the lack of transparency in how that power is used.
It raises questions about accountability and democratic values.
And the need for more transparency in decision-making processes.
That affect us all.
It's a reminder that power can be dangerous.
Especially when exercised in secret.
And that those with influence have a responsibility to act transparently.
And be accountable for their actions.
Even if it means giving up some privacy.
It's a delicate balance. It's a tough question, you know? Where do you draw the line?
Right.
But it's a discussion worth having. So, speaking of shadowy organizations and their influence, let's look at how secret societies have shown up in pop culture.
Yeah, they're everywhere, right? Books, movies, TV shows. It's like they've become the symbol of intrigue and conspiracy.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Totally.
Like they tap into our fears about the unknown, the idea that there are forces beyond our control.
Right.
But at the same time, there's this sense of adventure.
Yeah. Like, we want to uncover those secrets.
Exactly.
Like, think about James Bond and his constant battle with Spectre, this shadowy organization trying to take over the world.
Oh, yeah. Classic example.
Or the Stonecutters from The Simpsons, a satirical take on Freemasonry.
Right, poking fun at their rituals and their supposed power.
Exactly. And these fictional groups, Even though they're exaggerated, they reflect our real anxieties and fascinations with secret societies.
They do. They hold up a mirror to our fears and desires.
And then there are books and movies,
Mm-hmm.
like The Holy Blood and The Holy Grail,
Mm-hmm.
and The Da Vinci Code.
Oh, yeah, those were huge.
They popularized these theories about secret societies and historical conspiracies.
They blurred the lines between fact and fiction, presenting speculation as truth,
Right, and they sparked this renewed interest in groups like the Priory of Zion.
fueling all sorts of conspiracy theories.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of our fascination with secret societies is about genuine curiosity, and how much is just our love for a good story?
It's hard to say for sure, but there's no doubt that a well-crafted narrative can capture the imagination and shape how we view the world.
For sure. Okay, let's bring things closer to the present day and talk about a group that's become synonymous with modern conspiracy theories, the Jason Society.
Ah, yes, the Jason Society.
They're a prime example of how secret societies
Real or imagined.
can tap into our fears about government cover-ups
Yeah,
and hidden agendas.
right.
They've been accused of concealing evidence of alien activity, especially the Roswell incident.
The classic UFO conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly.
Their supposed goal is to keep the truth about aliens from the public,
Controlling the flow of information.
manipulating events to maintain the status quo.
And there are people like Milton William Cooper
A former intelligence officer,
who claim to have insider knowledge of their activities.
fueling even more speculation and conspiracy theories.
Right. And even though Cooper's claims lack evidence
They do play into a deep distrust of government.
and a fascination with the unexplained,
It's like we're wired to look for patterns.
to find explanations,
And when there aren't any, our imaginations fill in the gaps.
often with stories about shadowy figures and conspiracies.
Exactly.
So the Jason Society
Real or not.
represents this tendency perfectly,
They're a scapegoat for those who believe the government is hiding something.
offering a simple explanation.
For complex events that don't have easy answers,
They feed our desire for a narrative that makes sense of the world.
even if that narrative is based on speculation.
Okay, let's shift our focus to a group that's become almost a meme, a catch-all term for shadowy elites pulling the strings.
Yeah.
The Illuminati.
The Illuminati. They've achieved a level of infamy
Right.
despite their relatively short existence.
They were only around for a few years in the 18th century, right?
Yeah, in Bavaria.
But they've become this symbol of shadowy forces controlling the world.
Blamed for everything from wars to financial crises.
It's like they're the ultimate conspiracy theory villain.
They are, but their real history is much less dramatic.
Okay, so who were they really?
They were founded by Adam Weishaupt, a law professor,
Okay.
and they were basically a group of intellectuals who wanted to promote Enlightenment ideals.
So they were about reason and progress,
Exactly. They challenged the authority of the church and the state.
which probably didn't make them very popular.
No, it didn't.
And their use of secrecy and rituals just added to their mystique,
And fueled suspicions.
leading to their suppression by the Bavarian government.
Right. They were seen as a threat.
But, ironically, their suppression only made their legend stronger.
It's like the Streisand effect.
Exactly. Conspiracy theorists have linked them to every major historical event imaginable.
They've become this omnipresent force, manipulating events from the shadows.
They're the ultimate boogeyman.
The embodiment of our fears about unchecked power and hidden agendas.
Their story is a great example of how myths can take on a life of their own.
And how we often prefer simple explanations, even if they're not true,
It's easier to believe in a shadowy cabal.
than to grapple with the complexities of history.
Right. Okay, let's travel back in time to the ancient world and explore a group whose history is shrouded in myth and folklore. The Druids.
The Druids. They evoke images of ancient rituals and a deep connection to nature.
They were the priestly class in ancient Celtic societies.
Yes, they served as spiritual leaders,
Right.
teachers, judges, advisors.
So they held a lot of power.
They did. Their knowledge of herbal medicine, astronomy, and the natural world earned them respect and authority.
But their practices were shrouded in secrecy, weren't they?
Very much so. Their knowledge was passed down orally.
So we don't have a lot of written records.
No, which makes it difficult to separate fact from fiction.
Where did they perform their rituals?
In sacred groves, often near oak trees.
Oak trees were sacred to them.
Yes, they saw them as symbols of strength and wisdom.
Interesting.
Their ceremonies involved offerings, divination, and the invocation of deities
They were deeply connected to the natural world.
in the spiritual realm.
But they came into conflict with the Romans, didn't they?
Yes, the Romans saw them as a threat. to their authority.
So they tried to suppress the Druids.
They did. They wanted to assimilate the Celtic people into the Roman Empire.
So the Druids were persecuted.
Their practices were outlawed, and many of them were killed.
But their legacy lived on.
In folklore and legend.
And of course, there's the connection to Stonehenge.
One of the most mysterious ancient monuments in the world.
Some people believe it was built by the Druids.
Used for their rituals and astronomical observations.
But there's no definitive proof, right?
No, but the association persists.
It's fueled by our fascination with the ancient world.
And our desire to understand the mysteries of the past.
It's a reminder that history is often a puzzle.
With missing pieces.
And we're always trying to fill in the blanks.
With our imaginations and interpretations.
Okay, let's jump to a more modern group. One that's become a favorite target of conspiracy theorists, the Bilderberg Group.
Ah, the Bilderberg Group. They're like the ultimate symbol of shadowy elites.
Controlling the world from behind closed doors.
Their annual meetings attract a lot of attention.
And suspicion.
For good reason, some might say.
So who attends these meetings?
It's a mix of powerful and influential people, like heads of state, CEOs of major corporations, high-ranking military officials, bankers, academics.
It sounds like a very exclusive club.
It is. And the fact that their meetings are held in secret fuels all sorts of speculation.
About their agenda.
Exactly.
So what do they actually talk about?
No one knows for sure. Participants are sworn to secrecy.
Which just makes people more suspicious.
Of course.
Critics argue that they're making decisions that affect us all.
Without any accountability.
That they're manipulating global events.
For their own benefit.
But supporters say they're just a forum for discussion.
A place for powerful people to exchange ideas.
To solve global problems.
In a private setting.
Away from the prying eyes of the media.
And the public.
It's hard to know what to believe.
It is. But the Bilderberg Group's existence raises important questions about power and transparency.
And the role of elites in shaping our world.
Especially in a time of globalization.
And rapid technological change.
It's a debate that's not going away anytime soon.
No, it's not. So we've covered a lot of ground today. From ancient mystics to modern-day power brokers, it's clear that secret societies have always been a part of human history.
They have. They represent our fascination with the unknown.
Our desire for knowledge and power.
And our need to belong.
But as we've seen, secrecy can be a double-edged sword.
It can protect the vulnerable and safeguard sensitive information.
But it can also conceal corruption and abuse of power.
The key is to be vigilant.
To question motives. And to hold those in power accountable.
Regardless of their status or affiliations.
Yeah, it's a reminder that power can corrupt. And that secrecy can make it even worse. Like, think about the early Christians. They had to operate in secret to avoid persecution. So for them, secrecy was a form of protection.
Right, it was a way to survive.
But then you have groups like the Assassins, who used secrecy to manipulate and control people.
Hassan Saba was a master of that.
And let's not forget the Knights Templar. Their secrecy allowed their corruption to fester.
Their good intentions got lost along the way.
It's a cautionary tale, for sure. So the question is, when is secrecy justified? When does it cross the line?
It's a tough question.
There's no easy answer.
On one hand, secrecy can protect the vulnerable.
Like those early Christians.
Or whistleblowers who expose wrongdoing.
It can also safeguard sensitive information.
That could be used for harmful purposes.
But on the other hand, secrecy can create a breeding ground for corruption.
And abuse of power.
It can erode trust.
And make it difficult to hold people accountable.
So how do we find the right balance?
It's a constant struggle.
We need to be aware of the potential dangers of secrecy.
While also recognizing its potential benefits.
We need to be critical thinkers and ask tough questions.
About motives and intentions.
And we need to demand transparency.
From those in positions of power.
This deep dive has been quite a journey. We've explored a wide range of secret societies.
From ancient mystics to modern-day elites.
And we've seen how secrecy has played a role in shaping history and culture.
It's been fascinating.
So what have we learned? I think the biggest takeaway for me is that secret societies are a reflection of ourselves.
Our hopes and fears.
Our aspirations and anxieties.
They represent our fascination with the unknown.
And our desire to understand the forces that shape our lives.
They also remind us that human nature is complex.
Capable of great good and great evil.
And that secrecy can amplify both.
We need to be aware of that duality.
And approach these topics with a critical eye.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought.
Secret societies, throughout history, have offered a glimpse into the hidden workings of power
The allure of forbidden knowledge.
and the enduring human search for meaning and connection.
But ultimately, it's up to each of us to decide what these stories mean
To separate fact from fiction.
and to navigate the complex interplay of secrecy, power, and the pursuit of truth in our own lives.
So keep questioning, keep exploring.
And remember, the most intriguing secrets are often the ones we uncover within ourselves. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of secret societies